Good afternoon, Bookfighters. It's Tuesday, March something. I don't know what day it is. And my phone is dead. Okay, so it's March 20-something, 22nd, 23rd, something like that. And I'm sorry I didn't have a video last week. I lost my camera. Like, literally. Could not find it. I went to go film my video, went to grab my camera from where I usually keep it, and it was not there. So I ended up having to clean my entire house to find it, and I found it on Friday. So that's how lost it was. I don't know how it got that lost. No idea. Ghosts or something. And then, of course, when I tried to upload over the weekend, YouTube wouldn't work. But it wasn't just me this time. Like, usually, well, not usually, most of the time, it's just me, like my computer being stupid. But it was not just me. I talked to other people, and YouTube was being a brat all weekend for them too. So it's not just me. I am not crazy. I'm not making this up. This happens. But if you're watching this, that means that, you know, everything's good, hopefully. So yeah. The book that I was going to review last week was World War Z by Max Brooks, and I really want to talk about it, so I'm going to spend a little bit of this video talking about this. World War Z is, probably, as you can imply by the blood on the cover, it is a zombie book. But it's not your typical zombie story. What I really liked about it was, rather than taking the traditional zombie story kind of outline, what Max Brooks did was he told the story of the zombie outbreak like it was a police report, basically. The main character, if you want to call him that, I guess, he works for the government, and in a little introduction he kind of explains that in the aftermath of this, his job was to go around and take reports of the damage and everything, and he took a lot of personal stories from people who lived through it, but then when he went to deliver his report, they took all of the personal stories out, saying that it was too emotional and they just wanted the facts. And then so he took the personal stories and compiled them into a book because they let him do that. And so that's the book, you know, that's the story behind the book that you're supposedly holding. And it's really interesting because usually in like traditional zombie media, you know, be it other zombie books, movies, comic books, you know, video games, what have you, you kind of have this basic formula. You have, you know, person A, whoever your main character may be, and then you have this, you know, kind of unexplainable zombie outbreak. Sometimes it's explained later, sometimes it's not. It depends on, you know, what you're doing. So, you know, all of a sudden, there are zombies. Usually rather unexplained. And then you have person A, who usually finds person B, and then forms like a ragtag kind of group of survivors. If you've read other zombie stuff and seen other zombie stuff, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the basic formula for any kind of zombie story. Which is, you know, it's good because, you know, you feel connected with these people, and then, you know, it's a good storytelling thing because that's how you perceive things. I mean, it's usually like first person, you're following this one person, and then you get kind of attached to the people that you're supposed to become attached to, and then you feel like you're part of their little ragtag group of survivors surviving the zombie apocalypse. And that works. And it's an interesting way to tell the story, but Max Brooks completely throws that out of the window. Every chapter is a different person in a different part of the world, dealing with it differently. And some of the stories are more personal. Sometimes they talk more about their families and what they went through. Some people, depending on the person, talk about what kind of part they had to play in it. There was one towards the beginning about a doctor, and how it gets, like a doctor in like the Amazon, and he performs illegal organ transplants, and that's how people got sick there. So it kind of explains how it goes everywhere. which was really interesting because a lot of things don't cover that, because you're just focusing on this one character, and there's always this air of mystery, because unless your character goes somewhere, you don't know what the zombie apocalypse is like there. You know, so there's always this air of, you know, oh, well, maybe if we go north, there will be more people north. Or if they're north, maybe if we go, you know, out to sea, maybe it'll be safer out in the ocean. Maybe, you know, maybe France held up okay. Maybe there are people in Africa. You know, there's always this kind of mystery. No one really knows what's going on. But this book is completely, like, all-encompassing. You get to see how this outbreak affects the entire world, and most of all, how the governments deal with it, which, in my opinion, was very realistic. You know, it's not like... I never understood that. So one thing with zombie stuff I never understood is, like, it always seems like the governments just go to hell, and, you know, nothing's happening, and there's always, like, abandoned tanks, you know, floating around in the streets and everything, and it doesn't make any sense to me, you know, and people are all like, oh, I wonder if the president's okay, and I'm like, of course the president's okay, he's the president. They're, like, the world leaders are the people that they're going to focus on protecting, so that's, you know, as far as realism, very well executed, because there's only so much suspension of disbelief I can put into this with a zombie apocalypse, and Max Brooks does a really fantastic job of meshing the realism with how basically the world handles a crisis, and explaining that crisis with kind of the supernatural. So it was really interesting. If you're into zombie stuff, read it. It's probably the best I could ever recommend someone that likes zombie stuff. So then, the book that I read this past week, I took a completely different turn because I was kind of tired of, you know, world-ending stuff. And I read Forever by Judy Blume, which is basically just your standard teen romance, except it's from the 70s. But it was very good, and very realistic. Again, it kind of, I had one of those things where, you know, it is a teen romance, but it doesn't deal so much with, you know, a lot of teen romances do, where it seems like they're 14 and all of a sudden they're going to be together forever and get married, which I never understood, because the people that I knew when I was 14, I don't want anything to do with them, so that doesn't really make sense. But they're older, they're like 17, 18, senior year of high school, and she gets a boyfriend, and it goes through basically, you know, kind of this teenage romance as it would normally play out, and, you know, they talk, and it's called Forever, and there's this whole thing where we're going to be together forever, and it's going to be awesome, and all this stuff, and you know, it's school, and everything's going great, and then, you know, there's this great scene where it goes through her first time, which is so awkward, and weird, and uncomfortable, and it was just perfect. Like, that's how it should be in a teen romance. Like, it shouldn't be like, and it was magic and fireworks, because it's not. So, that was great. And I really liked it. And then, you know, summer comes and things don't work out, because high school romances don't generally work out. And it deals with the reality of that and how that happens. So, that's awesome. And I really liked it. The only problem I didn't have is I didn't really like the main character. I thought she was kind of annoying, but that's just me, because, you know, the reason they broke up was like her fault and her being stupid. I don't know. She's just not the type of person that I'm fond of in general, so that's just a preference thing, not about the book. The book was great. So yeah. Questions. Katie's question, I think Katie had 2 questions, if I remember. The first one I remember was, would you rather live in one place your entire life and never be able to leave, or be forced to move every 2 months? You know, call me a fuddy-duddy. Don't call me that. That's a silly word. I don't know why I used that. But, I'd rather stay in one place. I'm one of those, like, putting down roots people. I'm a tree. I'm not a tumbleweed. My plant analogy today, I don't understand. There's something going on up here that's not working with this. Anyway, but definitely not a fan of moving. I did a lot of moving, you know, when I was little, and not for good reasons, so I guess it's kind of that whole, like, the M word, moving, not a good thing. And if I could stay anywhere, I like it here. I like it in Vegas. A lot of kids my age don't. And, you know, a lot of the people that I went to high school with were all like, oh, Vegas is shit, you know, I hate it here, it sucks. And I never understood that. I like it here. I like traveling, but I like being able to come home every time and call this home and be here, you know. And, you know, it's really the only place that I've ever been that really felt like home. So I like it here. I don't like leaving. So yeah, that's me being boring. And then I think her second question was, she asked us to recommend a book, I believe. I remember this. Like, what book would you recommend to anybody? And I found the book that I would recommend to anybody. And it is I, Lucifer by Glenn Duncan. It's I can't even explain it. It's just a great book. You know, I've probably talked a lot already, so I'm not going to explain what it's about, but, like, Google it and see if you like it, because it's one of my favorite books. And it's by a British author, but I found it in Borders, so it shouldn't be too hard to find if you do end up wanting it, so yeah. So the book, no, more questions. Julia had a question about giving away books, and I think Dan said it for me pretty well. I can't give away my books. It's definitely like a personal connection thing, and, you know, I just can't. I love my books. I love them physically, so, like, giving them away is like ripping off limbs. You know, you probably have to rip my limbs off to get them away from me, because I'd be clutching them to my chest before I'd let you take them from me. So unless I, like, really don't like the book and never want anything to do with it ever again, yeah, no. So every time I give away books, I probably give away like 2 out of the, you know, hundreds I have. So yeah. I want to say there were more questions. Oh right, Dan. Yes, I think we do. We can have a full week this week. We're doing pretty well so far with you and me. So that's 2 out of 5. Almost a majority. So hopefully Sarah will have her video, and then Katie, and then Julia, and we can make all of your dreams come true. So yeah. And then your second question was, you asked me how I liked writing the novella. I don't know why I'm dancing. The novella makes me want to dance because I really liked writing it. I haven't written a lot lately, just because I've been kind of lazy and, you know, haven't felt like writing, even though I've had some ideas. But, you know, having the novella and, like, being forced to sit down and write with a deadline was really great. And I really enjoyed reading the parts that you and Anna had written and then writing my own. And I was really excited to send it off to Tara, so I hope she's having fun with it. And then Sarah gets it, and I hope Sarah has fun with it too, because I did. So yeah. The book that I'm going to read this week is Rainbow Boys by Alex Sanchez. It's been on my bookshelf for like ever. I got it for free from my school library, and I never read it, so I'm going to read it, because why not? So yeah, that's what's going to happen this week. I don't have any questions for you guys, so I will see all of you next Tuesday. Fare thee well, Bookfighters.